Yo, everybody, what is up? Hopefully, everybody is having a great evening. We have our second session of Crypto and Chill here. We have some great guests tonight. We are going to be talking with Drip Coach himself to get some more information about the Drip Marketing DAO. So, definitely be ready for that. Make sure if you're watching this video at this point, share it, tell all your friends about it. If you're in Drip, this is something you really should be pushing because this is a massive innovation when it comes to the space and is really going to help Drip out. So make sure that you see this on Twitter, you retweet it, you like it, share it on Telegram. If you see it on, Facebook, I don't know how it would make it there, but hey, make sure it gets out to as many people as possible. I appreciate you. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get Drip Coach here on the scene, have him introduce himself, and then we'll get straight into it.
Yo.
Welcome, Drip Coach. How is it going?
Out freaking standing in the kingdom of wonder. How's it going over there?
Oh, it's going great, going great. Glad to have you here. Of course, we have a lot of questions for you. I'm sure the community has a lot of questions themselves as well. So just ready, we'll go ahead and get straight into it. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Drip Coach. I know that, we've been on a couple streams before, we have a little bit of history. It's been a while, but tell us a little bit about yourself. I think it's always important that people understand, how everyone got in the game, how they came to relevance in a sense, especially with Drip. And obviously with your name being Drip Coach, you have to have some knowledge you can give us. So just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm assuming most of you guys that follow S Crypto probably have come to my channel, so I'm not gonna make this any longer than it needs to. So pretty much been in the military, then IT work, and then martial arts, then teaching health and fitness, and then got into crypto while I was in the military, actually mining Bitcoin on some IT servers that were being repurposed. Don't know where that went. I'd probably be at a better place now if I had kept up with that. And then lost track of Bitcoin back in like 2012, picked it back up in 2016, 2018, lost track of it again until I came out here in Cambodia, picked it back up around that about 2020 time frame. So I got back heavy in the DeFi summer phase and did all the rug pulls, all the nodes, all the Wonderland forks, Tomb forks, all that stuff, and found Drip around through I can't think, Juvier's Gems. I found it through his channel about September, October when Drip launched, 2021. Is that now? Yeah, September, October. Ignored it because it looked like everything else that was just another quick pump and dump. And then kept seeing some hype about it. Heard about the Animal Farm officially supposed to be launching in January. Stumbled on Jonathan Seller's channel and saw him actually build a channel up to 10,000 subscribers. And I was like, yo, I'm literally in the education space and the coaching space as my real job. I was like, I think I could make a YouTube channel and start sharing my journey about this. And it looks like this drip thing has some legs. So let me just start documenting my drip journey. And that started February 6, 2021. And then the Drip Coach name actually came out after, shout out to Scott the Investor, went on a rant briefly on his channel that my name, Drip Farming for Poverty, was too long. And we, in a side chat, we're talking. He's like, what's your real name? What do people call you? And I was like, man, for the last 8 years, I just go by Coach. And that's what they call me out here in Cambodia. One, it's just easier to pronounce. Two, that's the identity I've adopted. So he's like, you mean all this time we could have just called you Coach? And I was like, yeah, I guess. He's like, so Drip Coach just kind of stuck. He had people come onto my channel and put that in the comments. And then I just changed my name to Drip Coach, and then have been, since day one, dedicated on Forex projects. But ever since that official name change, it's been, 110% just education on Drip ecosystem, so to speak.
Yeah, and I definitely think that's one thing I noticed about your channel too. There's so many YouTubers out there when it comes to Drip that more so, just cover the basics, right? When it comes to, it's going up, it's going down, here's a recent development. But you really get into, the nitty gritty, into the detail. And I think that's why you've built such a fan base as well, just because you do get so detailed with it. You're so thorough with your work as well. And then you're always transparent. I think that's a big thing as well, is, having someone who can speak to you and be honest, give you the real when it comes to this stuff, because at the end of the day, it's people's money, and that stuff is very important. There's a lot of emotions tied to that as well. So always having someone who's transparent is always a good thing. So that's always one thing I've appreciated about your channel as well. So
I appreciate
obviously
that.
you have a lot of knowledge with that. So tell us a little bit about the DAO. So how did this come to, fruition? Who was it? Your idea? How did this all come together?
Funny you mentioned that. I actually have a video coming out tomorrow. That's, I think, maybe tomorrow, the next day. It's the origin story of the DAO, because I wanted to document this because I have a feeling this is going to be a pivotal moment, not only in Drip, but in DeFi in general. People are going to start to understand the power of what crypto is. And by that, I mean the actual community aspect. So the actual origin story of it, I don't want to spoil my video. So the name itself was just a random drop from Rock Ape in a Twitter space that I was on with Crypto Night back on March 8th. Rock Ape just jumped in because his audio wasn't working and he wanted to chime in on something. And then he made the comment. He's like, I think one day someone in the community will make a drip marketing DAO, and I hope to be a part of that. That was it. That was the inception idea. But anybody that knows me on my channel and has seen what I do, I take action. I'm quick to make content. I'm quick to put stuff out, organize things, and run with it. So that was the initial idea, if you will, was just Rock Ape saying that. Prior to that, I had reached out to Rock Ape about my Change 360 platform and trying to get his ideas on marketing, because I'd heard about him from the Guardians of the Reservoir and the other projects. So I was like, okay, I want another person's ideas about marketing and crypto. So I'd already reached out to him around the 4th or 5th of March. And then ironically, he jumped into the chat then. And after that, he had joined my Telegram group. And once I saw him join, you get the little bot alert that so-and-so has joined your group. I sent him a message immediately and said, hey, I want to talk to you about my project and want to see how I can integrate your idea of this DAO into my project. So he didn't actually have an idea about a DAO. He just had the name. So from that, I took him and I said, I'm going to put you in a group with Scott. Scott didn't know about this at that time yet. And I said, we're going to make this work. And then I made a group, went over to Scott and said, hey, Scott, do you know Rock? I got a group. We're going to do this DAO. We're going to market the project. I don't have any details. We'll figure it all out on the way. And he's like, yeah, sounds good. Put me in the group. And from there, I just started giving kind of the marching orders, if you will, about what we needed to do, what it looked like. So we took Rock's idea. His original idea was what he had been testing in his current business of basically marketing to Asia. And once he said marketing to Asia, it just clicked with me because I live out here. Like, so not only do I market in my own business to Asia, I've been doing it for almost 7 years. And I already had, once he said that. So for me, I'm a person, when you give me an idea, if I have all the other pieces, I'll immediately just start working on it. So DAO and Asia marketing, and then the entire plan got laid out, and I told everybody what we're doing, and then got the rest of the team involved, laid out the marching orders, created a collaboration whiteboard, said we need this by these dates, project management kind of thing, assigned the roles. Okay. And then it's pretty much been balls to the wall since then.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things I can tell too is, I think it's super important anytime that you have anything, especially like a DAO or a team, that everybody somewhat plays their role, and that not everybody tries to be, the superstar, that everybody understands that they have a certain role that they can play in these things. And it sounds like, everybody knows what their role is, and everybody can contribute something different. You have a different perspective of actually living in Asia. Scott has that in that marketing experience as well as Rock Ape. So, being able to combine those things and almost make this power team, which I saw somebody mention you guys being like the Avengers in a sense, but this power team that's really just heading this. I mean, this should make everybody excited because you have some great content creators as well as just some great experience behind this. So I think that's awesome. So so what is kind of the main purpose that you guys are striving to, to kind of take care of when it comes to the drip marketing? Obviously, it's going to be marketing. I read through the white paper and it said more so, tailored towards the English speaking folk in the Asian countries. So kind of, what is the main purpose and kind of how are you guys pursuing that?
Yeah, so that is the purpose. So if you've been in crypto or DeFi long enough, or you just got in, you now understand that the corruption and opaqueness of the current fiat system and all the historic ones too. So do your homework, you'll find out that every single fiat currency ever in history has always failed, and they all will continue to fail, because if you give someone a magic genie lamp to make as much money as they want with no repercussions, they're going to always rub that lamp. So with that being said, we now see that there needs to be an actual real money in society. The only money we currently have is gold, and everything else got built on top of that is credit and debt. So gold is unfortunately not very easy to transact in. So crypto came about, the blockchain, specifically Bitcoin, to kind of fix that. And the goal for me is that in order for, like on my channel, to empower the impoverished, to help them find financial freedom, you have to get away from the people that have technically corrupted the system in such a way that you're going to always be in poverty. So if you don't remove that power from them, then these other people in these other countries, I'm not gonna say never, but the deck is heavily stacked against them, let's put it that way, to pull yourself up by your bootstraps in these other countries. But with a decentralized monetary supply that can be accessed from a smartphone from anywhere, that's the power of crypto and the power of community. So to answer your question about what's the goal is to get DeFi a massive adopted fan base, so to speak, and create this actual separate money in the system. Fiat's going to always be there. You're going to have people that are not going to want to transact. They love the head in the sand approach to having someone control everything and that they're safe. And if you make less than $250,000 in your bank, FDIC insurance sounds great to you. Like my parents don't want to take any risks, so I totally get it. There is a need for both, right? But there's, in my opinion, it's going to just be a kind of a bifurcation. We need both these systems to run. And the only way we get to that other system is if more people understand it, more people adopt it, more people start to use it. If we don't have the community aspect and massive adoption, crypto dies. Bitcoin would have died before we even got Bitcoin Pizza Day. Nobody would have bought it, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm beating on this drum about. And Rock 8 made the statement that there's no such thing as a red chart. It's a market. It's not a market issue. It's a marketing issue. And that clicked with me because there is billions and billions of people that have no clue about crypto and DeFi specifically. And if you just reach out to them, then you'll never have a problem in your asset because it has utility. The utility is moving away from the fiat Ponzi and into something that's owned and governed by the community.
Yeah, and I think it was a great point to checked into one of the other AMAs, and it's kind of, I think it's a common misconception that, you know, the North America continent specifically is one that needs to be marketed to heavily. You know, that's not always going to be the best market just due to, you know, it being expensive, as well as, you know, it just not being it's a cultural difference there versus, you know, more so, you know, in Asia, different countries like that. It's a lot more interdependent versus independent. And like you said, you know, being able to give that opportunity, because I see it a lot of times of, you know, people providing water sources and different things like that to countries over there, and, you know, really building these big communities because it is so interlinked, and a lot of them tend to, you know, invest together, do things together. So it's a lot easier and cheaper as well to market over there. So I think that's a great point.
100%.
And with the next question, you kind of rolled straight into it with what you said about what Rock Ape said. Now, this is going to be a little bit more of a controversial one, but he said it's not, the chart is more so a lack of marketing in a sense. So from your perspective, what problems does Drip currently have?
Well, it's not just Drip. It's the entire DeFi space. So unfortunately, the existing lure to DeFi is, I can be a millionaire overnight. And because of that, it's basically gambling. People see it and it attracts that gambler mentality. With that gambler mentality comes the same approach to sharing the information about gambling. It's like, yo, I just made $1 million on this lottery ticket. You should get in on this. It's like your hustle man down the street flipping shoes out the back of the trunk. It's just not legit, right? So you're only getting those types of people, and that's the type of marketing that gets spearheaded. DeFi Summer is a perfect example. You only found out about projects because of Twitter raids and Reddit threads and all this stuff that caters to a very specific audience of people that are tapped into that and resonate with that. Why do you think large capital and savvy investors are only staying in Bitcoin? It's because they look at this and go, this is ridiculous. There's no way I'm going to put my capital in here. So the problem with Drip is the same thing problem with all the rest of DeFi. It just has not actually started marketing in a traditional way that the consumer understands the problem it solves. In any product, people only buy products to solve a problem. Right now, crypto does not appear to solve a problem because the only people talking about it are talking about making $1 billion overnight, and that just sounds like another problem. It's not something that's solved. It's like, I'm going to get wrecked. Like, I know better. If it's too good to be true, then I'm not going to do it. So the solution is simple. The solution is market to them in a way that it solves a problem for them and meets them exactly where they are. So having utility in crypto and marketing that utility. Spritz solved a problem. And all they have to do is market, and people will be like, wait a minute, my bank is paying me 0.01% a year, and it's just closed down. I had to move to another bank or whatever the case may be. And inflation, it's like, I can move over to somewhere else, put my money there, and still pay my in real life bills. That solves a problem. That's an easy thing to pitch to someone. So when we get more of that, then the marketing will actually scale on its own. It's actually very, very simple when you think about it.
Gotcha. So from your perspective, like if you were advertising Drip to someone, what problem would you say that Drip solves?
That's a tough one because as of right now, I am not advertising Drip to anyone because of the actual lack of proper marketing. But with proper marketing and a sustainable price, so to speak, then the problem I would say that it solves is it's basically giving you a higher certificate of deposit than traditional finance. So it's an investment vehicle. It's a high risk, high reward investment vehicle. Low risk in the sense that the contract will always pay, that it will always be there, that it's immutable, all that stuff. But there are still black swan events that you need to be aware of. And crypto is still young. We have no idea what's going to happen to it, or if on-ramp rails get cut off by the kneecaps in the US, or something happens with Binance. We don't know, right? So there's still these unknown risks with it. But that problem aspect that it solves would definitely be a fixed certificate of deposit, guaranteed and immutable, and high risk, high reward potential on your investment. And that's going to be, again, something that's marketed to a very specific type of individual, someone who's looking for that. And that is more of those gamblers, because it's like, okay, I can put $100 in, I can compound and get X much more, you know. But the person that has $1 million is like, I don't want to take that risk. I'll just put $1 million over here and hold on to it with 10% per year instead.
Yeah, and I think that's a really great way to put it as well. And that's how I try to educate about it at its current state, which obviously, you know, we all want to see multiple dollar Drip, things like that. But it truly is an investment vehicle in which you should be able to park money. It's immutable, so things can be changed. The contract hasn't been changed. So you're able to park your money there, and then you're really exposed to compound interest, which, you know, just me, I was never exposed to compound interest before I came into Drip, and now truly seeing the power of something that I can build, and then being able to take that and, you know, invest in things, whether it's, you know, blue chips such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, you know, whatever your favorite blue chip is, or maybe that you take that out, convert it to fiat, and then you invest in something in the real world, whether that's, you know, real estate, a business, things like that, that, you know, those opportunities weren't always available. So I definitely think that is something that Drip can solve if it does have some price stability and is marketed correctly, just like you said.
Exactly.
So another question I know that a lot of people ask is, why did you guys choose the garden as kind of your main income source versus the faucet?
Yeah, that's a good question. We tackled this before, and actually, again, I'm going to expose this on the DAO origins. One of the first things I think Rock actually pitched out was the pig pen, because obviously you get the USD dividends, but that would just take too long to collect on, and then the Piggy Bank as well, but that's been a little lackluster currently. And then the Garden came out in a conversation, and it just made more sense from the sense that we need marketing dollars immediately. And what happens in the Faucet is that you lose access to that capital immediately. So you put it in and you only get 1% per day. And then of that 1%, you got to now go and sell it. So you have a couple of kinks along the chain. So one, you lost that initial capital. Two, you get 1% per day. Three, we have a multi-sig, so we got to coordinate everybody to actually sell it. Now you're creating sell pressure on the token. And then you have to collect that little bit you have and then put it into a marketing campaign. So in marketing, you actually need to have essentially an allocation per day that you're willing to spend, and it runs. You can't just inject a little bit and then turn it off. You have to actually have this continually being fed, or your marketing campaign dies, because you need the data to tweak the campaign until it finally works. And then eventually it's feeding itself. So the Garden was the simple play, because there is no, that's another thing also. On Drip, you have a cap on the referral rewards, and it does the round robin. So there's just so many things. It just doesn't work for this particular application, what we want. Whereas in the DAO, immediately 5% goes straight into the referred wallet you used. And every time you compound, that 5% is done again. It's also immediately available. I've done this on my little Garden with my big one. I can, every time I compound on my big one, I can go straight into my little one and pull out those seeds. They're immediately available right there, and I can sell them.
Okay.
So it also is a much easier tool to understand or onboard someone who's never done this before. It's like, go to this contract, Liberation, put in either BNB, BUSD, whatever, and you're going to get this token. Put this token in here, you get that same token out, the LP token, you know, looking at simplicity terms to explain to somebody new. And then they're like, okay, cool. I put this in, I get that out. No big deal. It makes a lot of sense to me. And then it'll also be easier for them to onboard to the next areas in the ecosystem, because then they're trying to take that out and we're telling them the next steps. It's like, okay, now that you've broke that apart, let me show you about this Faucet contract. You can actually go put this over here, and then we can actually build that out. So it's easier to explain. Plus, the other big reason I touched on a bit is that we talk about the community, and you even hear Ray talk about this. He's like, if we can get everybody to, you know, do the buy and burn, if we can get everybody to support this project, we get everybody to have positive behavior. Problem is, you got a bunch of selfish people that got in the Drip, and they're all individual players, and that's where you have Stunner Breezy saying it's a solo sport and stuff like that, and that's cool. But if we can actually educate an entire community of people that are already community minded because of their culture, and then we onboard them and show them the steps of what to do, and they trust us, they're making money, it's working for them, and we say, here's what positive behavior looks like. We walk them through the steps. We now have an army of tens of thousands of people doing exactly what the protocol was designed to do. And then we can lead them to the next steps and the next steps and the next steps. And then when you onboard a new community, going into India, Singapore, Thailand, whatever, this becomes a massive, massive potential versus all of the individual players doing their own things, trying to make the rocket wallets and trying to avoid the whale tax and all that stuff. It's like, if you just use the protocol as designed and look at the features, look at them as a feature, not a bug, and stop trying to make 10x versus your 3.65x, everybody eats. But you can't re-educate the people that are already in, because unfortunately they just don't give a shit about everybody else. But going to a new culture, new community that looks at everybody as part of the community and more tight knit, it becomes much easier.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point too, is I think that everybody assumes that not everyone can be at the table and eat. Like you said, you're getting 3.65x, like that's not enough. People want the 10x, the 20x, but it's the fact that it's sustainable is what's important. So, you know, with that, as you're talking about marketing, you know, what kind of methods do you guys plan to use when it comes to marketing? Is that going to be like billboards? Is that going to be more so, you know, face-to-face marketing? Like, what kind of methods are you guys looking at to market to some of these communities?
We're going with the tried and true retail sales funnel. So anything that you've bought nowadays, for the most part, is being sent to you digitally and being directly marketed to you based off of all of the collected information that Facebook and Google has on you. They know exactly what you want to see, what you like, what what your preferences are and all that stuff. So we're starting with Facebook ads. People ask why Facebook. Again, if you don't live in Asia, then you have no idea. Facebook is the primary go-to resource for especially the Southeast Asian culture. So I've had multiple businesses out here, physical businesses as well as online, and very few actual have a website. And even if they have a website, it's static and old. Their communication and their advertising is done through Facebook, and they don't even use Facebook ads. What they do is they create groups very similar to Telegram, and then they just get in there and go live. And their live streams are, I don't know how they work, to be honest, but it's literally someone just sitting there on the camera for like 2 hours. In the first 30 minutes, they're not even talking to the camera. They're on their other phone. They're waiting. They're just waiting for people to pile in. Then they showcase their goods and services or whatever. It's basically like the infomercials back in the 1990s.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, like 10 p.m., except less structure, less organization, way more nails on a chalkboard, like grinding on your nerves, if that's not your culture. But it works. It works for them. So that's fine. You got to meet people where they are, not where you wish they would be, right? So we're going to use Facebook marketing as the primary tool, and we have an avatar being the actual ideal person that we know is interested in crypto in the Philippines. And again, us content creators actually have access to this data. I can look behind the scenes and see the age group. I can see the gender. I can see, what cities and all that stuff is already there. Plus, there's a Filipino Telegram group. We got some polls from them. So that gives us a little bit of an idea of who the person is in crypto. Once you have that, you can create your sales message to them about what the problem you're trying to solve. And going back to what I said before, so the problem for them is like financial freedom, this opportunity to get away from the fiat Ponzi and create financial freedom and wealth for their family. So it's a big family communal aspect of this. And then you put that message directly in front of them, and then you handhold them through the process. All of us that are here now, if we had someone walk us through step by step, we would have been much further along quicker than all of the distractions and shiny objects and learning on our own and Google this and YouTube or whatever. It's like, damn, this was actually very complicated. But if there was literally a step-by-step hand-holding process with ads and a group and webinars or whatever we decide to do, then it makes the onboarding easier, and it lowers that friction and barrier to entry and makes it easier for someone to get started.
Yeah, and I think that's great as well, because you kept mentioning, onboarding, education, having to hold the hand to get people started. And I think that's such an important aspect of it is, you can't just pitch something to somebody and expect them to invest, their hard-earned money into it without really walking them through, because typically what will happen is if you are guided in that way of somebody just pitching something to you, then that's going to be the way that you start looking at all these new projects that are pitched to you, right? It's pitched the same way. Hey, well, try this one. It's 1.5%. Hey, try this one. It's 2%. Right. And then you start going down that cycle, and eventually you're going to get wrecked. That's going to probably destroy your, crypto confidence in a sense. And I think that's a really important part of it. So with that, do you all plan on creating content specifically from the Drip Marketing DAO, or do you plan on using already your previously created content to educate people as you come across those communities?
Oh no, it's going to be 100% unique content to this community. So again, in marketing, you have to understand your avatar and again, meet them where they are. So we can't use the vernacular and verbiage of what we currently have out there that we've been using on our channel. Primarily people in Drip are US citizens and they're already crypto savvy. So we've created a brand new Facebook page and 30 different blogs already about introduction to DeFi. Again, starting where they are. What is DeFi? What is your traditional finance? How does their banking work versus decentralized finance banking work? What are the pros and cons? That's the base layer. Just putting information out there that they can come to the page and just read. You're not selling them anything. You're trying to just open their eyes to awareness. After they've been aware, you now start to tell them about different things about these pros and cons within those systems and what it looks like. What are some of the cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, ETH, BNB? Again, educating them on the next layer when you move into crypto from fiat. And these are all going to be done through blogs, new videos, additional content. I think we don't have a Twitter for this. No. So it'll be primarily on Facebook. So it'll be all Facebook driven content, and then some specific ads with this content in it as well. And then slowly moving them down the funnel to where we'll get them into a Telegram group, hold a VC or a pre-recorded webinar to show them how to get started, answer questions. Again, kind of like I said, the best way to describe it is literally hand-holding step by step by step. So it's essential to have in a new, entirely different Telegram group. Why? Because the existing one is polarized, and we wouldn't be able to have this experience that makes someone feel welcome when they ask these noob-friendly questions. You don't want them to automatically get silenced or have issues, because that ruins the experience for a new investor. We talked about this before. So we need the entire community, the entire support process to all be on board doing the exact same thing, so that everybody has this positive experience and they go, wait, this is pretty cool. I put $5 in and I made $1.25 in a month or a week or whatever the case may be. And that's important as well, because it's a different culture. We're not trying to expose them to super high risk in regards to what they can afford for capital. We want them to see that this works, see that we're continuing to educate and bring more people in, and that the strength is in the numbers, not in the actual single person's $1 million, $5 million contribution. It's in the entire community working together synergistically.
Yeah, and I think that's very important too, is if you think about it with any business, right, it's always about first impressions. So, if the first thing that you do is someone's like, hey, this is Drip, and the first thing that you go see is the Drip Telegram chat, I mean, I don't even want to think about how many investors were turned off from Drip immediately just because everything that was going on there and just the way that it was managed in a sense. So I think that's super important, is, creating that content, kind of tailoring that first experience and, those first steps through it, so that someone is, confident in it. And then as well, they can kind of pay that forward to, hey, this really ended up working for me. Just like you said, I put in 25 cents, I made $1.25, and, I'm just like you can do it too. And I think that's one of the best things is, word of mouth is, this worked for me, this can work for you. And I've always said that's one of the best ways that you can market it, right? You can do all this stuff in terms of, hey, let me pay this caller, or let me pay this Twitter to say something about the project. And all the time, people at a certain level, you can kind of spot that, like, okay, this is either botted, this isn't the right way to go about it. But whenever it's a situation in which it's like, hey, I made $500 doing this, and I'm not I'm not different than anybody else. I made money doing this. Hey, I got, this new car doing this. I got, this new toy doing this. That's the best way to market. I think that's one of the best things we can do, is to help market in that way, and then help just educate people. Education is one of the best things that we can do. And I think that's why a lot of us are here as content creators, just because, we want to be here to educate, to allow people to not run into some of those hurdles that we did. Because Lord knows I ran into a lot. I got wrecked. I sold some Drip. Like when I first got in, I probably would have already been at a max wallet a long time ago, but hey, still there. But it's from the education and what I've learned from other people in the community. So
100%.
So what is the best way for people to help support? I know that you guys have the referral link that you can use to join the Drip Marketing DAO Garden. But I know if people have asked about, sending LPs, what is there an ideal way for someone to help support the project?
Yeah, for sure. The ideal way that we've decided is to build a garden on using our referral. The reason that's ideal, because that aligns with the values I put on my channel, that I'm not trying to get people to just donate capital, not trying to be a charity, not trying to just ask people, hey, do this, sacrifice that. I appreciate the support. We all do as well. But this is the best way, because what happens is you don't lose any access to your capital. Like, of course, that 5% you can go without a referral. Okay, so that's granted. But by building that referral wallet, you now also benefit from all of the effort we're putting in. So if you build a garden, and when we are successful, because we will be successful, your garden's going to eat and pump because of what we're doing. That's way better than just sending a one-time LP or something like that. Even if you got a garden, build a small one, because that small one can significantly get impacted from the growth of the contract balance. We can look back now already and see that this effort that we've done has had significant impact already. And when this aligns with drip, drop, draw, and we finally have drip kind of done for now with the UI and drip, drop, draw, then it's like, good, drip is done. We don't have to wait on any more changes, no more speculation. It is what it is. Here's the baseline. Now we're building from that, with that momentum, and the community finally having a breath of fresh air to say, oh, yay, it did finally get done. Cool, we can support this again. So that gets fixed on that side while we're simultaneously building and doing everything on the other side. And don't forget, there's also the Drip Garden game that those devs are building. So there's actually stuff being done. And again, the issue would be marketing to these people so they can be aware of all this stuff. So the absolute best way is build a garden and then just benefit from all of the focused effort that comes along with it. If by chance you don't want to build a garden, then yes, sending LPs to the wallet is number 2. 3 is other crypto like BNB or BUSD, but we prefer not to get that because the more diversity we have in the wallet just means the more transactions we have to coordinate across 3 different time zones for the multisig, and just means more friction towards getting the campaign run.
Gotcha. And I'm glad you brought that up. So with the multi-sig, can you kind of explain, how that kind of enhances securities? So maybe one day, Drip Coach was like, man, I'm done with Drip. What exactly does that multi-sig, how does that help from a security standpoint?
Yeah, so Multisig is basically a smart contract, and we use Gnosis Safe, so you can look them up, and they're one of the leaders in Multisig contracts. So what happens is you just go to their website, you create a name for the wallet you want, and then you decide what other wallets you want to have in that contract. It can be anywhere from, has to be at least 3. They won't let you do it with 2 because that defeats the purpose. 3 all the way up to I have no idea how many. But for us, it's myself, Rock8, and Scott the Investor. And what that means is in order for a transaction to get approved, 2 out of 3 of us must approve or validate that transaction. So any one of us can kick it off, but somebody else in the group has to go in and approve it. So if something happened, let's just say we had a malicious actor in the group, all of a sudden they went in and decided to send the 100 LPs to their own wallet. Well, we'll see that pending transaction and we'll reject it and be like, hey, bro, what was that about? Was that fat fingers or what's going on, right? And you can also always add additional people to the contract. So even if something happens to myself or, I don't want to be a part of this anymore, they can add someone else, make it 3 out of 5, whatever the case may be, so that you're never kind of stuck with this wallet and nobody can access it. Clearly, if all of us get hit by a bus, then yes, the project dies. But hopefully that doesn't happen.
But yeah, I think that's important for people to understand too, is it's not one sole person in control when it comes to this. As you heard, there's multiple people that have to approve these things. It goes through a vetting process. So, when it comes to investing, your money or helping out with marketing from a donation standpoint, or even just joining under the garden, you have to understand that, your funds are secure and there are multiple people who have to approve those transactions. So I think that's really important to understand too. And, I really like what Drip to Wealth had brought up here by saying more people equals more liquidity, which equals less volatility in the price driven by larger wallets. I think that's a common misconception too, is that we need those people to come in and spend $1 million, buy
Right.
a million drip, stuff like that. That's really not the purpose, because all you're doing is allowing someone to pretty much completely have control of what's going on within the drip ecosystem. So
Exactly.
the goal is at the end of the day to have more people with smaller investments so that it's more spread out. So just like Drip to Wealth said, there's less volatility in that price. And I know a lot of people look at it today, and I think it was 153,000, 154,000 wallets currently in Drip, something like that, last time I checked. And, everybody has their different percentage of that, of how many they think are actually unique users. I've heard as low as 30,000. I've heard up to 100,000. I'm kind of in between those numbers. But the importance is having those unique users. And even if we onboarded, 20,000, 30,000 new people, unique people, that is
Hmm.
possibly doubling the amount of unique users in the drip community, which is huge. So really
For
being
sure.
able to like leverage that and spread out that to reduce that volatility is super important, because anytime you have a passive income platform like Drip, it's great to have those swings up in terms of price, but it sucks to have those swings down. You would rather have a stable price so that you can calculate what you're getting. It's like, hey, I know I'm going to get in the range of, 100 to 105. You don't want to be in a
Right. Exactly.
situation where it's like, okay, I'm getting maybe 50 this day, then maybe 250 this day. You want to be
Right.
able to create somewhat of a schedule in terms of how those things roll out. So great point there, Drip to Wealth.
Yeah, and I think that's where the power of what we're doing actually really shows itself. What I touched on earlier about the community and marketing specifically to a culture that understands this, and hand-holding them, and them having the trust and validation, like Rocket mentioned, trust but verify. So they see all this and they're going to tell their friends and all that. We can sway the entire volatile nature of it, because you'll have a coordinated attack, an army of people working together doing the same thing, because they've been educated on how it works. They've seen proof of concept. They've pulled out the money. They're seeing. They're like, I don't want to kill this golden goose. Why? Because in their country, $300 a month is, a great income. But all of a sudden now they're getting $100 a month from this sustainably, because they're pulling out $25 per week. They're going to continue to listen to what we have to say and be like, okay, this is legit. I'm going to rock with this. And then as you grow this out, they can be the actual, the masses that have that ability to lead the DeFi revolution within the ecosystem. So you look at, for example, Pigpen, when we start to get the voting, what happens when you have now this 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people that, yeah, may only have one pig a piece, but you talk to them, you say, hey, this is a much better deal for the small bag holders. There's this proposition on the table, but it really benefits the big whales. We need to all work together. This is much better for us. That's true DeFi. That's the decentralization that we need. Having the small players have a voice because they all align with the same principles and vision of what DeFi can actually be. Not getting all coordinated into one or a handful of people that can manipulate things like we currently see in central organizations.
Yeah, and that's literally the point of DeFi is decentralized finance. So we're trying to get away from having these big groups, which when you really think about it, it's just like, the current fiat system and the banking systems. We're trying to get away from something like that, so where people actually have the power in their own hands. And I think that's so powerful. What you said earlier too is it's when you're marketing to these people that have these ideals in terms of, we can take this and really kind of spread this to the community and allow this to be something that takes care of the community. I think that's so strong, because it only takes one person, right? It takes the right person, one person with the right voice to the right audience to really have something just blow up and explode in terms of the growth potential with it. So I think that's amazing too from the marketing standpoint is we're looking, or you guys are looking at these different areas in which that is their ideals to kind of build a community versus doing it on your own, where, one person is here to make their money, get out, make 5 wallets, drain it as much as they can. You're looking more so at marketing to the people that, yes, they might have the smaller bag, but at the end of the day, they have the bigger voice because they have the bigger community, which is really powerful. So, okay. And then obviously with it being drip marketing, I know a question might be, are you guys on the Forex Shark payroll?
No, and have no desire to be. Crypto Knight mentioned this, like he's like in his Twitter stream, he asked, he's like, well, what if the opportunity came up that, the team wanted to work with you guys or whatever? It's like, yeah, I would honor that and be like, that's great. Thank you for recognizing the hard work. We humbly decline. There will never, ever be a chance, at least if I'm currently in the position that I'm in within the DAO, to take that opportunity. I'd much rather get to the point where so big they can't ignore us, and then continue to prove our concept and rock it out the way we've designed it, that we know will work, and continue with that decentralization aspect and hive mind mentality. So we've got 7 people on the team. It's not just one person's ideas. So by doing that, we can actually move faster, further than you could if it's just one bottlenecked person or organization, so to speak, in that case. So it'll be 100% focused on right now the drip garden, but I've already told the team my roadmap idea for other stuff that we can tap into and what this actual marketing DAO can and will become in the future when we are successful.
Yeah, I like that. I like the win. So when I think about the garden, it's hard for me to ignore the piggy bank. So have there been any ideas about possibly implementing the piggy bank into some kind of structure? Because I know it has the similar referral-based system. Pretty much the difference would be is that you're getting pigs BUSD versus getting drip BUSD. Any thoughts about using the piggy bank?
Not in the short term. So we've thought about like the entire ecosystem in regards to marketing and how we can go about that. But the rest of the system is actually so much more complicated and requires that much more education. So the piggy bank and the staking and the time lock stakes and the referral, the bonus, like, oh my God, that's insane. So trying to educate someone on that is something that we'd have to do after they've been in the ecosystem for a while. So the current path, that's the easiest and least amount of friction. They say in marketing, if you confuse, you lose. So we want to take them straight from garden, and they're like, okay, I broke apart this LP. I got my cash. I paid my bills. I paid my cell phone bill. What do I do with this drip thing? Oh, cool. Glad you asked. Just come over here, put that in here. Don't worry about it. Like, we wouldn't even explain the rest of it. Just put that here, the same way as you would say, oh, go to PancakeSwap and sell it, right? Instead of selling it, you just tell them to put it here, and it's a simple thing for them to understand what to do with it. And then from there, you can start to explain, you get 1% per day. You can build a team. There's also the reservoir that supports this. Like the drip ecosystem, Faucet reservoir side already has complexity built in as well. So that would literally be step 2 and the simplest, easiest way to move them forward. And then we're still looking at millions, if not billions of dollars of potential just with those 2 steps alone. And this is one avatar, one niche within one country. So even before we look at other areas of the ecosystem, it's like, yeah, let's just copy paste this model to Singapore, very crypto friendly, speaks English, well developed. It's like, let's just go there and do the exact same thing. And then we got to start the whole process over again. So it's like, there really is in the short term, no need to start tackling all these other areas within the ecosystem when we have hundreds of countries, even non-speaking English countries, such as Crypto Mischief, right? He's in China. He gets a lot of stuff, his stuff translated. There's nothing stopping us from translating all this into other languages in other countries. So the potential is limitless, completely limitless.
Okay. And then, with that, I think that Rock Ape has a good point here. And I always like to kind of ask some of the more, questions that might be a little risky in a sense, but with this, have you guys looked at if the situation did arise, like you said earlier, to where you're so big that you can't be avoided in a sense? Have you guys already kind of started thinking about, how you might have those conversations, how those things might arise, how you guys might go about that?
Kind of. I actually reached out to Ray. So I told Ray about this and my Chain 360 platform and all that. And he gave it not exactly support, but not exactly knocking it down. He basically said, yeah, if it's not co-signed by Forex, you may not get the support of the community, da. And I was like, that's fine. It's actually, we will succeed with this, improve this concept going forward. So kind of like when I was pitching Spritz to BP and to Ray, then I eventually saw, I think Forex commented on Spritz in one of the chats. So it'll eventually get to them. And because of Forex's visionary prowess and how head down he is and focused, I don't think they would ever even, to be honest, approach us and ask, can we work together, even if we prove proof of concept and blow out the existing marketing out of the water, or get to where there's 150,000, let's say 300,000 wallets in the garden and still 150,000 over on Drip side. Even if we prove all of this, it would just probably get swept under the rug, I think. And if by the slight chance the conversation came up, again, I already mentioned that. We have to be like, thank you for recognizing our efforts, and the community will continue to press on as we have been.
Got to give him that political answer. But no, I think that's I've just seen it happen with some other projects as well. As it sometimes it can become a conflict of interest because there is a lot of pride and ego. Sometimes they get caught up in the crypto space as you move up
Mm-hmm.
into some of the upper ranks. So it definitely happens. So we're gonna do a quick second just to give some people a shout out who have been in the chat. Shout out to Bugs, what is up? Crypto Unlimited, Drip to Wealth, Crypto Night is in the building. Shout out to you, Siobhan the Dom, my boy. What is up? We have Crypto Fergie as well. So we got some heavy hitters here. We had Wayne in the chat. Got Westside Ian. Westside Ian's everywhere. I feel like he is always on every single video. So shout out to him. Michael Owens was in the building. We had Trap here as well. Lady Dripper, OG Lady Dripper, one of the bag builders in the chat. I appreciate you. But with that, last question I really have, or not last question, probably two more questions for you, and then we'll go ahead and close it up. So are you guys already doing marketing, or are you more so waiting towards or waiting until you hit maybe a certain amount of capital that's been generated? Or kind of how is that working? Is there a goal that you guys want to generate first and then you're going to market, or are you waiting more so on maybe some of the market analysis to come back? How is that working?
So like I mentioned before, we already have blog articles that are posted. We already have the Facebook page. I've tested to make sure that we have access to the ads. So in order for me to make content, for Scott to do analysis, for Rocket to be able to, run the ads as well, we need to make sure that Facebook gives the proper access to all that. So we checked those pieces, and I actually made a sample ad just to see if it will work for my end. So there's nothing officially running from the team. We have a meeting actually in about 3 hours to actually nail that down and have the first official Drip Marketing DAO ads running within the next 5 to 7 days. But we already have posted Medium blog posts. There's 10 blogs posted, another 20 that are scheduled. There's about 3 to 4 posts per day on Facebook scheduled that started on Monday of this week, and they'll be going out forever in perpetuity. And yeah, that's it for the marketing that we're doing so far. So once the actual ads go out, then that will be driving people to that Facebook page to see this existing content and start educating them on the process. So we've already started taking steps, but not the aggressive, in-your-face, targeted ad marketing yet. That will definitely be less than 7 days, 5 to 7 days.
Gotcha. So how long has it been since you guys created the DAO?
So like I mentioned, Rock8 dropped the idea. The conception was March 8th. And then I took it and ran with it. It's like the video's coming out. So it was literally a couple of hours after that podcast, or I'm sorry, that Twitter space. So that comes out on crypto nights around 6 a.m. my time. And you can see in the timestamp that I got in the video coming up, it was 9:07. So 3 hours later that I'd already reached out to Rock, and he actually joined the group, and I already said, here's what we're doing. And I think by 9:12, I had mentioned to Scott, so 5 minutes later, and we already had conversations going within an hour or two after Drip to Wealth's stream ended. So like I said, I don't waste time. And everybody on the group knows and sees the work I'm willing to put in for this and lead this forward. So I've always, in my other previous video, I said lead, follow, or get out the way. And I believe by leading by example. So I'm willing to do the work and keep the motivation and morale high so that we don't lose momentum. So that's extremely important for me, is that this momentum is not lost. I've seen that kill the project multiple times over. So it was extremely quick inception and extremely quickly people taking up their roles and responsibilities and executing on it.
Yeah, and that's really the point I wanted to make with that is, so you said the 8th was kind of the inception date, but the fact that all the stuff that you already named, how thoroughly you're just kind of speaking about it, really just shows the work ethic of the group as well as yourself in terms of, Medium articles, you're talking about Facebook ads, all these different things, and that's within 20 days. We haven't always been as blessed to be able to see things that quickly, especially within this community. Right. So I think that just really speaks to, the potential as well as, what's already happening with this DAO. So really my last question I want to ask is, what do you think the price of drip needs to be kind of suitable for the community and for yourself? So no, a lot of people think, like, oh, we have to get back to all-time highs. They want to see $200 drip. What do you think a good price for drip is?
Oh man, I don't actually have a price point anymore.
Okay. Okay.
A good price for me is just stable. So that's the whole point of utility and these other projects, and of course the drip marketing DAO. So if we can get to a point where we're able to essentially offset the sell pressure that's going to happen organically every day, because each person gets 3.65% on their investment, right? And you're going to sell it until there's borrow and lending, and who knows how long that's going to be. So let's just expect that it's going to be sold. That means we need 3.65 kind of X coming in to balance that out. So a price point for me is a way that we're hitting stability and can offset that sell pressure. And if that settles at $5 drip, $10 drip, $20, whatever it happens to be, great. But I'm looking just for stability versus getting back to all-time highs. Now, granted, due to the way drip is set up, that is possible, especially now with all these other utilities and stuff coming in. But that still feels a long ways off with the dripping wallets, with the minting, with all this stuff, with still waiting on stuff to be developed. So I don't even look at any of that anymore. It's just like, just give me stability and
Yeah.
let's build from there. Give me a foundation, and then I'll start to give some price points after we figure that out.
Gotcha. And obviously with it, it's sometimes a shot in the dark in terms of what we're actually going to give versus what has kind of been promised and, delivered in a way. So from for you personally, what is your favorite drip utility that has been hinted at or anything that's just kind of been brought up? We have lending, we have scratchies. What is your favorite utility that you've heard for drip so far?
My favorite utility is me betting on myself, knowing that I'm going to lead this project, both my Change 360 one as well as the drip marketing DAO. I told people on that other video, I was like, we don't need people like Forex needs to do this, Forex needs to do that. I don't give a shit about any of that anymore. I've given up on that. It's great when it gets here, but I know what I'm capable of, and I know what DeFi and community is capable of. So I am the utility. The community is the utility, and people with focused effort and passion, that's all you need. The other stuff is just shiny objects. Drip in and of itself, by itself, is already done. You don't need a new UI. You don't need anything. Like Baby Grinch, Papa Grinch made his own UI for it. It interacts with the contract. We can do that with the DAO. We can onboard all these people. We don't need anything else from Forex. All that is just niceties, right? All we need is focused, deliverable effort towards a common cause. And that's, to me, the best thing that can come from drip. And I know that's what I'm willing to deliver and execute on. So nothing else in the ecosystem, in my opinion.
And I think that's a great point too, because I think once people really understand the power of what I always say is putting your brick in and understanding that everybody has a skill, everybody has something that they can provide to the community. And once everybody understands that and really acts upon that versus waiting on somebody else to do something else, and like you said, I think that's when we really start to see things happen, because at that point, you're not relying upon somebody else for your investment success. And if you're solely driving your investment success, then you're going to drive a lot faster than maybe somebody else will, because you're going to be the one pushing it. So I think that's a great point. That's a great way to close it out. I think that's super strong, just because there's so many people out there that have great skills. And so I always tell people, whether it's you picking up the camera, setting it up, doing videos, you don't need, some crazy camera. You can use your phone, anything like that, whether it's doing that, creating. We have so many great graphic designers out there. We have people who create music. We have people who, more so maybe they just tweet, maybe they do stuff on Facebook, things on Instagram, anything
Right.
like that helps, because everybody has something that they can do in a way that they can help support the community. So I think that's a really
Exactly.
good way to end it. I know that we have you next week as well to talk about Change 360,
Yes,
your
sir.
fitness platform as well. So give us just, a little bit of tidbit on that. We'll have the actual AMA and everything going on next week with that, but
Mhm.
give us just a little bit of a tidbit of how exactly that works out.
So it's basically just an AI health and fitness, health and wellness platform. So with the advancements in tech, it's becoming cheaper and easier to get personalized health and fitness. And that's again what I do as a coach. So trying so I decided to create a model that just capitalized on that. So it'll be basically just kind of either a subscription service. Right now, it's just going to be kind of a one and done purchase, and you'll get customized nutrition as well as exercise plans, and it'll be available in any non-tax crypto asset. So targeting the crypto community first. But the big thing, as I mentioned before, about utility is being able to target and market to other people outside of crypto. Health and wellness as a sector is huge compared to crypto. Everybody needs it. You just got to find out exactly what part of it they need. And with AI, it's completely customizable and personalized to each person where they're at in their wellness journey. So being able to bundle that and sell it and then have those proceeds support the drip community is exactly, to me, the services and utility I mentioned before that we need within crypto, within that massive adoption. So that's what this platform is solving, and that's my forever platform, as I said. So I'll be doing and developing on that until they throw dirt on me or put me into an oven.
Gotcha. So is that tied into drip in any way? Because I know I've seen a lot of projects as of recent, they utilize, the faucet, some different things like that to kind of tie into rewarding the people that do invest into those projects. So is this one tied into drip or use any kind of drip mechanisms to help support it?
Yeah, it's just going to use the revenue to actually buy back and burn drip to deposit into the reservoir, as well as to create animal farm positions. So again, the utility is necessary and revenue is necessary with actual utility to people purchasing your product. So there's zero speculation. When you purchase this, you immediately get something. And in exchange for that purchase, we give you that product, and then we take a percentage of those proceeds to buy and burn drip and support the faucet and stuff like that. So it's sustainable on its own, and it has a completely independent market that I can tackle into.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome when you think about it because it's literally you're helping to better not only your physical self, but also, when you're healthy as well, you have a better mental space, mental mindset, things like that as well. But now you're also incorporating, supporting the drip ecosystem by, being able to burn drip as well as support the reservoir as well. So, I mean,
Right.
that's awesome. So I know we'll definitely have some time to talk about that next week. But Coach, just want to
Awesome.
say I appreciate you being here. I appreciate the diligence, all the work that you're putting into everything that you're doing as of recent. Are there any closing words that you want to leave the community with before we get out of here tonight?
Lift daily and achieve your impossible.
Okay, I like it. I like it. Well, with that one, everybody, that will be the close of our second Crypto and Chill session. I appreciate everybody who came out. Really appreciate it. This was a great AMA. Like I said again, I appreciate Drip Coach being out here, giving us all the information and really just putting the drip marking down on his back. Took an hour worth of questions and killed it. Killed it. Took it like a champ.
Appreciate it.
So I appreciate it. Everybody have a great evening. Coach, I will see you around. I'm sure this won't be the last
Definitely.
time that we talk because we're going to be with each other next week. So with that,
Yep.
everybody have a great evening. Keep compounding. Like I always say, stay calm, hydrate, keep building yourself, and as always, keep building your bag.